10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 338. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 338 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. This is the first episode in December. I cannot believe it's December 2022 already. This year felt like it flew by. But anyways, thanks for joining me yet again. And if you're new to the show, welcome in. We are starting a brand new series, and this one's going to go on for a while, I think. I'm really excited about this. We are going to take a look at the blues, and we are going to do that with some of the master musicians throughout history. And we're going to start with one of my favorite musicians, the legendary Sonny Rollins. And we're going to look at a couple of choruses of his solo over his famous Tenor Madness recording with John Coltrane. But before we jump into the meat and the potatoes of the episode, just wanted to remind you this is a listener-supported podcast. We rely on our people that support us on Patreon. And if you would like to be one of those people, that gives us a small monthly donation in return for a PDF with every single episode, audio examples, and a bunch of extras. You can go to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, and get yourself signed up today for instant access to all of those materials. I want to give a quick shout out to some new patrons this week. Thank you to our new $3 patrons, Deborah, Hannah, and Michael. Thank you guys so much for joining up, becoming a part of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson family, and of course to the over 350 people we have over there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We could not do this without you. So again, to learn more about what you get in return for supporting the show, go to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, and get yourself signed up today. All right, so let's dive into today's episode. This is an idea I had after working on the blues these past couple of weeks. Said there's so many things we can learn by studying the blues. Why not study some of the best blues solos ever played in the history of jazz and see what we can learn from them? So as I mentioned, we're going to start with the amazing, wonderful Sonny Rollins and talk about a couple of choruses of his solo over Tenor Madness. So this recording was really pivotal in my life. I stumbled across this when I was a young man, still in high school, really starting to get passionate about the saxophone and jazz and improvisation. And hearing two of my biggest saxophone heroes, Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane, playing on the same recording just kind of blew my mind. So if you haven't checked this out, the entire recording, I highly suggest doing so. Two of the best blues solos that I've heard. Now, we're going to dig into Sonny's solo because I learned a lot more from it, and I think it's a little bit simpler and just an amazing piece of art that he created on this recording session. And what I've done is I've singled out two choruses amongst the probably dozen that he plays that are my favorite. And I think they're kind of tied together in some ways. So we're just going to talk about a couple of the things that are happening in these two choruses. So let's start with the first one. Grab your PDF. I've written out this chorus. Let's listen to it, and then we'll talk a little bit. So, a beautiful, beautiful chorus of playing. Let's dive into a little bit of what's going on and what I think makes it unique. So, we start by seeing him just using a concert B-flat major pentatonic in that opening line. And then we see him in bar 4 utilizing that 5-to-1 relationship that exists going into measure 5. So the 1 chord becomes the 5 of 4. And Sonny does a really, really cool thing here where he uses kind of an altered sound or a diminished sound to push into that 4 chord. So what I really like is over the first 3 bars, he's playing really, really simple stuff. right? There's a lot of space. He's just using some basic pentatonic language. And then all of a sudden, we hear this thing in bar 4 that really propels us into bar 5 in a really harmonically interesting way. And I think we can learn something here is the importance of bar 4. It's not just another 1 chord. Really, I want you to think about it as the 5 of 4. And that can provide you with a lot of forward motion in your solo. Figure out a way to use some tension and release from bar 4 to bar 5. And this Sunny line is a perfect example. Just go ahead and steal this, start using it, and then start coming up with some of your own stuff, maybe based off of it. Because we see the sharp 9, the flat 9, and then the major 7 going into the 5 of the 4 chord, which does provide us with some tension and release. And it's also a form of an enclosure of the 5. So really, really good stuff. Now, the rest of the chorus is super interesting because we actually don't see much more tension and release. In fact, when we get to bar 7 and 8, we largely see him just using the root of the 1 chord, and he's just playing a lot of syncopated rhythm with this note. And then he plays this really cool, he sort of avoids the temptation that we all have to play this super complicated line over the 2-5-1 in bars 9 and 10. And he plays this really cool sustained line that stays within the key. And then he plays something in bar 12 that propels him into the next chorus. But again, he keeps that very, very diatonic. And we're going to notice this as a theme in our second chorus that we're going to look at today. But I love what he does over the 2-5-1, right? Just that nice, long, sustained line. Da, 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 da. Very simple, but very, very effective. And it reminds us that we don't always have to reach for a crazy, complicated 8th note line. So really the things that strike me in this is his simplicity everywhere except for measure 4 going into measure 5. And again, it just really highlights the importance of that measure. So let's listen to this chorus one more time after talking about it, and then we'll move on to that second one. So again, just a really nice mix of things going on there. And it's like Sonny Rollins to a T. I just love the way he thinks and the way that he plays. It's such a different approach, such a refreshing approach. All right, let's look at chorus number 2. All right, so there's the second chorus, and I got to tell you, this is probably my favorite chorus of the entire solo. I just love what he plays in this melodic statement. So this one is kind of the opposite of the last one. So what we see in the first 3 bars is a really cool chromatic, snaky kind of line. Whereas in the first chorus that we went over in this episode, we saw some really simple stuff that was just based off of a pentatonic scale. So what I want you to do is dive into that first 3 bars and really see what makes it tick. Again, there's a lot of chromaticism. There's a lot of really interesting intervals going on in there. And he's really playing in a very bebop way where he's really getting into the nooks and crannies of those chords. Then this is kind of, again, the opposite. Going from bar 4 to bar 5 now, he sort of avoids that tension and release. And he plays a very, very, very simple idea, again, based off of that pentatonic scale that we like to use over the blues. And then my favorite part of the chorus is the line that he puts together starting in measure 8 and going through the 2-5-1. So he plays this really, really cool thing over the 6 chord where he's highlighting the flat 9 of that concert G7. And then my favorite part of the chorus by far is the 2-5-1 lick that he plays. Now, there's something interesting about this. You notice that the 2-5-1 lick is all in the key of concert B flat. It's all diatonic to the home key of this blues. And that's really interesting because normally when we play 2-5-1s, or at least when I do, I'm always looking for the tensions. I'm always looking for the altered notes. And I think what Sonny demonstrates here is that you could play one of the most interesting lines that I've ever heard while remaining totally diatonic. And in my mind, this actually takes more thought than just reaching for all of those tensions that we all know, right? Sharp 9, flat 9, sharp 11, all that kind of stuff. It really takes a lot of thought to come up with something that is compelling and harmonically interesting while remaining diatonic. And this is, I think, might be one of the best examples that I know of. And Sonny is an absolute master at this kind of stuff. It just shows you kind of his thought process. So those are the interesting things about the second chorus. Let's listen to it one more time. Man, that 2-5 is just so good. It really kind of gets stuck in your ears too, which is awesome. All right, so here's our first episode of Blues with the Masters. Hope you enjoy this. Hope you're excited about some more of these blues solos to come. This is some stuff that you can apply right away, and hopefully you're working on the blues as we all should be. Let me know if you have any questions, and we will see you next week with a brand new episode. Remember to get the PDF. Go over to 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, and you'll get instant access to the stuff that we just talked about today, along with all other 337 episodes that we've ever done. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.